There we go. Getting things started. Gonna get the word out, and then I'm just gonna get it started, go live, whether the chat fills up or not. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC, and if I sound a little down in the dumps or out of sorts, there's a reason for it. As you know, last Friday I had really great news. I was super excited because, as you know, I took a chance with trying to get independent funding from my independently published novel, Axiom, and we yet hit our goal, or at least it seems like we have hit our goal. Now, like every crowdfunding place, there are safeguards and safety measures, and reasonings behind that are obvious. And I got the email last night as I was writing the second novel, and I was up way too late, telling me that the big donation that was made is pending review, and that if they don't hear from the person who made the generous donation in 7 days, they are going to refund the donation, and that's it. And I get that things happen. I get in the even grand scheme of things, with all the stuff going on with wildfires and everything else, that it was a lot to ask people to help fund the distribution stuff for the book. But I believe in my story, and I thought that by putting myself out there and doing something that I still do not feel comfortable doing, that something good would come of it. And for the last few days, it felt like, yeah, something good came of it. I gave an earnest, heartfelt attempt, and it felt like my prayers were answered. And now we're in limbo again. And it's a weird kind of limbo where I don't know either way. The person could have been genuine and doing this, and I'm just worried for nothing. Or it could be like when I've asked for help before, the few times I've asked for help before, I had somebody make a fraudulent $1,000 donation and then take it back. So I'm in limbo right now until I know. And I know the person that made the initial donation, because they put it down as a donation, also made a contribution for a signed copy of the book. So I know this isn't some person just doing me dirty, at least I hope. But I also have a paranoid mind. I am a literal schizophrenic. And because of the stuff that I did with my former political group, the CCC, because of the people that I used to associate with, I don't know. Welcome to the chat, Topher. So it's a bit of a rough time for me, not because I want to be sad or depressed, because we still don't know. That donation could still be real. The person that I reached out to on top of Indiegogo could get right back to me any day now and be like, no, this is what I want to do. But right now, I'm in this in between where we don't know. So all the excitement that I felt over the weekend, all the calm that I felt that I can get things pushing and focus on my other projects, once again, I'm in the I don't know stage, and I'm in the I regret asking for help phase that I always find myself in. I'm a Gen Xer, and I gotta be honest, as a Gen Xer, I'm used to doing things myself if I can. It is not easy at all for me to ask for help from anybody. Maybe it's a bit of prideful, maybe it's a bit of dealing with people who used to make you feel like if you asked them for help, you owed them for the rest of your life. So it really is hard for me to come out of face and be like, look, I really want to get this book in as many places as possible. So I need the help because I'm doing this on my own. So when people reached out, when the community that friends that I have online said, hey, we got you. We might not be able to give personally, but we will help spread the word. That was so much to me. So I do not want to seem ungrateful to any of you who helped spread the word, because I still believe that people care about getting this story out. I still believe that the people who read this story see where I was going, see where I want to continue to go, and want to do their part. But to have something like that happen in the middle of the night, and I'm already up dealing with my mind, trying to get things right for this second novel as it is. So I also prefaced that I was a bit tired getting that news too. And even rereading the email back from Indiegogo, I know this is just their way of making sure that this wasn't something fraudulent, and that I'm hoping that both of us reaching out, because I did it last night. I tried my best to just be respectful, thanking them for all their support and hoping that they respond to the Indiegogo emails if this is serious, or let us know. Because right now I'm in limbo. I don't know. And we still have enough time if it wasn't or was a mistake, if they can't really do it, to know and try to plan around that. But that wait, this is hell right now for me. And I can't convey it anymore. And I don't want this person to feel pressure. If that wasn't your intent, or if you had the intent and then something else went down, just let me know. I'm an upfront person. I get overextending yourself. I get that, especially with everything else going on, something else of more importance might have went down. But that in between that I'm in right now of not knowing and trying to guess, when I don't even really know the person who did it. If it had been a friend of mine, it would have been easier. If it had been somebody I actually knew and talked to for years, this would be easy for me to be like, okay, I know this person, they're good for it. Or I know this person, I shouldn't have trusted them. I don't know the person who made this donation really, or if I do, I only know you by your screen name, and I'm not making the connection right now. And I'm in panic mode because it's like I said, I've been so hyper focused on the move, on trying to write the second book, on trying to keep it together, that this was something that just blindsided me. And now all the paranoia, all the scared thoughts that this is what you get for getting your hopes up have been plaguing me. Last night was heck trying to get sleep. My sleep pattern was destroyed. I was up and down all night. And I didn't want to worry asking him because I know him. He'll be like, no, don't worry. We'll just get it the way we have been, little by little, buying books in bulk ourselves, getting them out that way. If we have to do it that way, we will. But it's the not knowing. And I did not want to start this off like feeling like I'm whining about it. It's just, if on the off chance the person who made that donation sees this, I want you to know I'm not blaming you. I also seen when you made a generous donation for your signed copy, which you will still get. I'm gonna honor every single commitment I made in that Indiegogo campaign, no matter what. I just need to know if this is real, and I can keep pushing past and not have to worry about the campaign no more, or if it's not and I have to continue to put it forward. That's all I need. And like I said, I know people don't like embarrassment online. I get it. If you tell me in private that this wasn't real, and I understand shit happens, I'll leave it at that and we will go forward. But I can't go forward because I don't know. And that is a hell for somebody like me. Because I'd like to be able to keep moving with other stuff because I thought this was done. I thought, oh my goodness, this is done. I could focus on other projects. I could focus on the next novel. I don't have to worry about promotion stuff anymore. I can get the book distributed. I can work on other stuff. And now I'm in limbo again, and I just need to know either way. That's all I'm asking. I don't want you to feel under pressure though. And like I said, I am grateful to everybody who gave what they can. And that's all you can ask for in this day and age. People are taking a chance. There are no guarantees on anything. People say so much. But I think people know by now that I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not making you pay for something that's a promise. The book is done. It's just getting more copies out there, getting more ways besides the EM paperback done that I wanted to get done, that I just do not have the extra resources or funds to get done right now. So I thought I'd take the chance. So I just wanted to open with that and thank everybody once again who spread the word, who gave what you can. I love all of you. I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes when you hear that from people online, but I don't make friends easily. So coming to my friends and asking for help to me is a big deal. And the fact that so many of you responded generously, I will always appreciate. But right now, my mind is going a million times a minute trying to figure out if this person was genuine or just messing us around. And it's not a good feeling to be in right now. And I just want y'all to know that this is not for this person to feel under pressure. It's just let me know either way so that I'm not in this limbo, so that I know what to do next. Because if it is real, then I can go back to, okay, set it, forget it, don't have to think about it. If it wasn't and there's a reason behind it, like, hey, I messed up, I didn't mean that, I meant to hit 50 when it hit an extra couple of zeros, I understand that too. I'm old. Using stuff on the phone, I have given donations that were way bigger than I planned, and I had to eat crow. So trust me, I understand all the in betweens that could have did this, but it's the not knowing that's really messing with me. And that email just hit me at the wrong time. This is what I get for checking emails before going to bed. That is something that I need to stop doing, you know. But I was up anyway, and it's like I said, because I'm writing the second book, being up at odd hours, I'm used to it. What I should have known is just go to bed, Tim. I was feeling tired, but I was like, let me check my email. And I don't know why. I felt compelled to check the emails, and when I seen that, it was crestfallen. Because the way Indiegogo phrases it is kind of like, we flagged this because it was too suspicious for us, and we're gonna send it back no matter what. And it's like, shouldn't that be up to the person? I mean, if they make that donation, I like to think they were doing it on purpose. And what if they're the type of person that isn't online all the time? What if they just seen it and it was like, I'll help out, and then they got busy? I worry about that stuff. So I hope for my mindset that me reaching out to them via Indiegogo, because like I said, I don't know their name from the top of my head. And I'm so sorry if it is somebody that has known me from Twitter or other places and I'm just not making the connection. But right now, I am just, my head is full of stuff. My head is full of moving and getting the next stuff that I'm writing done. And I just don't have it in me to overthink this. And it's bad enough trying to keep the paranoid thoughts at bay that this was just somebody else taking you to task. Because it's happened before. And I just, if that's what it is too, then I need to know that too, so that I can justify that part of my brain that goes, this is what you get for asking for help. But let me get to the heart of the topic, and I appreciate that, Topher. Like I said, no matter what, the story's out there, it's written, and I'm proud of what I was able to do. So no matter what happens, I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna get that book in as many hands as possible. I'm gonna get the ebook on as many eyes and pads as I can. I'm gonna try to get the audiobook finished before the end of this year. No matter what, I am going to keep pushing because I believe in this story. It's just really hard when setbacks like this happen because it never happens during a time where everything else is calm. Right now, everything else is kind of chaotic. So when stuff like this happens, it's just like it feels heavier than it should be. I know we're going to be all right. As a Gen Xer, I've had way worse things happen. It's just the not knowing makes it the worst for me. Because if I knew either way, I could be all right. But that I'm in limbo right now, and it is definitely not a good feeling. And I really just hope that the person clears up either way so that we can know and we could go forward. Because fortunately for me, unlike Kickstarter, Indiegogo allowed you to do a longer campaign because I figured because of how much I was asking for, it might take time to raise it. So I wasn't even going to see any funds until the end of next month anyway, because I wanted it to go the full 2 months to see what we could do. So I'm okay with waiting anyway. I was going to have to wait. You don't get those funds automatically no matter where you do it. But the not knowing whether or not it was real is going to mess with me until I know. And it's not a fun place to be in. But we're going to get to the heart of tonight's topic. Well, actually, today's topic, because there is a lot going on in our news cycle. Apparently, 45 will be turning himself in Georgia on Thursday. And everybody has their opinion about it, including bringing up that he's turning himself over to the Fulton County facility, the same facility that let a black inmate die of literal bug infestation. And they're like, well, they're not going to give him any special treatment because of that place. And I'm calling BS. Because unlike that young man whose only crime was not being able to make bail on an assault charge, something that a lot of African Americans in the South have to deal with our criminal justice system, and being locked away, ignored when he had clear mental health problems, to rot away and literally become infested with maggots and other bugs. I'm sure Trump, who only got a 200K bail, which he probably crowdfunded that already, won't even see the inside of that facility too far except a processing place. So miss me with the whole idea that because they are doing the processing at the Fulton County Detention Center, that it is remotely going to show or wake Trump up to the realities of the situation. They are still, to my opinion, kid gloving him as much as they can. Do I still think that it is amazing that Fannie Willis is putting them to task and not letting them play games with her? Yes. Do I love the fact that they got 10 indictments, including a RICO charge, pending against him? Yes. Do I believe that our court system might finally do things right? I'm going to hold off. I'm going to carefully guard the hope that I have. But I am going to hold off celebrating until that man is convicted, because indictments don't mean shit. I grew up in New York. Old school New York for me. 70s and 80s New York, where wise guys were still killing each other at steakhouses. Where Giuliani, who I guess he flipped the script in his old age, developed things to prosecute people, thus forming a lot of the RICO Act charges that they're now nailing him and his crony Trump with. Trust me when I say I understand that people with money, people with connections, and people who think they're powerful often look guilty, and you can even have stuff on them and they still not go down for stuff. So while I am hopeful and believe in Fannie Willis and Judge Toomey and everybody who is doing their job to let it a law, I also watch this with a grain of salt that this is still America, where people can literally buy their way to freedom whether they did it or not. And until that stops, I'm concerned about the way they're still trying to make it seem like, well, because he's getting booked at Fulton County, that Trump is on the same level as the people who literally don't have any choice and literally will be put in horrible conditions because they can't afford the bail. It is not the same. And that is one of the many problems in our country with our systemic racism problem, with our systemic bigotry problem, and whole with the justice system in the first place, because it was set up by the people who already had enough, already had too much. They want to protect themselves and their ends, and all the rest of us have to just survive in it. And until we stop this us versus them, where all the wealth hoarders are treated like they're better people than those of us who are just trying to live, we are going to continue to see this imbalance of not only power but justice. I want to see Trump go down. Personally, want to see him go down for everybody that we lost. But I'm also the type of person that has to remember all the people that you knew did stuff that got off because they didn't have enough evidence, or somehow witnesses just decided not to show off, or just stupid shit that you knew. You knew these people should be in jail or worse for what they've done. But because our justice system is kind of skewed towards looking away from certain facts when the person has a certain social status, I do worry about it. And I don't want to show this kind of concern. I want to just be confident and hopeful that finally this man is going to get the karmic retribution he has for my dead family, for my dead friends, for people beyond that were affected by his awful policies when he was raced with the presidency and shat all over that office for 4 years. But the reality of this situation is, as long as there are states where Republicans hold the majority of state legislation, whether it's their governors, whether it's their senators, whether it's their House reps, we are still in danger of people who don't want to see that man go down, go down. And it's funny because I thought he didn't want to do the Republican first debates because I mean, honestly speaking, any Republican up there is going to bring these indictments up if they're smart, because it's like a fucking shark infested waters right now. But what I've seen, especially reading today's article, it might just be Trump's way to take out his only real competition in Ron DeSantis. And yeah, I've seen that video of him literally short circuiting to certain questions about whether or not he should support 45 and how he's going to hold up against the very poignant questions that anybody debating him will bring up. Like, why are you pushing the fact, and it's not a fact, but why are you pushing the lie, the myth that slavery was beneficial to African Americans who happened to be enslaved back in the day? Why would you lie about that? Why is that such a bone to pick for you? And what do you mean about anti-woke? What is this anti-woke crusade, and how can you utilize that to unite a already fractured United States? Why are you trying to run on a us versus them when you've got to be the president of everybody? I don't think there's a Republican on that stage that can literally make that argument. Even Chris Christie, who's trying very hard to show that I'm not like the other girls. You can pick me and get the conservative you want, but not a Trump lackey, which we've got plenty of evidence that you were all up in the 45 Kool-Aid when it was looking lucrative for you. But you realize that he was a kookaburra and a literal stabilizer of democracy. And you also knew that he literally is in 4K committing domestic terrorism. So you're trying to get yours. It's still not a good look, because he will forever be the party of Trump, as far as I'm concerned. Even after that man is dirt in the ground, his party is forever stained by his racist rhetoric, his disgusting sexist behavior, and the fact that he committed literal domestic treason because he lost a free and fair election. Which, if people got him back in power, and I need you to understand, we would never have free and fair elections again. They would do everything in their power with him. Their Supreme Court, which is still skewed, looking at Clarence Thomas, Alito, and a few of those others that don't belong on there, Beer Guy and Handmaiden. It is a dangerous time to play around, and we cannot afford it. But I honestly thought he was skipping that RNC debate because he didn't want people to point out the obvious about him being indicted, literally being processed on Thursday. But when I started to think about the weird wannabe Game of Thrones type setting of the current Republican Party, the wheeling, dealing, backstabbing, all out fighting that has gone on from everywhere from localized government to the national stage, I am not surprised that Trump said, no, I'll sit this one out. I'm already the big dog. I already got people loyal to me. I'll sit this one out and see how the wannabe me does. And Ron DeSantis isn't doing too well. And he didn't start going after African Americans in Florida like the obvious bigot. He started with the people that people think are a low hanging fruit, which pisses me off with his Don't Say Gay bill. Because right off the bat, he told LGBTQ kids, LGBTQ educators, healthcare officials, people who keep that state running, that their lives were under jeopardy under him. The Wade family literally had to up and move out of the state because their transgender daughter was in danger in their own state. That is the danger of letting people just run roughshod. And then you've got the wannabe political junkies that are like, well, Floridians just need to get themselves together. We'll ignore the fact that there's gerrymandering. We'll ignore the fact that this doofus literally will remove state elected officials, which was something I was going to talk about last week, but my body pains just got to be too much. There's a elected prosecutor who just happens to be a Democrat that he removed from office. One of the second times he's done that as governor. Ron DeSantis has decided, I am going to be the Napoleonic governor of the state of Florida. And people act like, well, why don't they just vote to remove him? If it was that simple, they would have. Charlie Crist came very close to unseating him, just like the original electoral thing between him and, I'm forgetting homeboy's name, And I know I'm blanking. I can see his face, and I can also see the legal trouble he got in, but that's neither here or there. That was also a close election. So when I say that people acting like DeSantis won by a blowout are the same people that try to downplay how close Beto came to unseating Abbott and how close Stacey Abrams came to unseating Kemp. We have to keep pushing, but we are up against a lot of dirty shenanigans. So what we in supposed safe states need to do is not only canvas, phone bank, try to get as many people motivated as possible, but also keep an eye on our own elected officials in our own area, because people who act like the shit that's going on in Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Arkansas, and so many other states in our union can't happen where we are because we're in safe liberal bastions, forgets that New York elected George Santos, the great pretender. People like to act like New York is just this liberal bastion, forgetting that the city is just a small part of the entire state. There's a whole upstate with people who don't even know what black people look like. They get their shit off TikTok and Reddit, and then they go and they shoot up the small black communities that are upstate as well. That's the hell that we are in our own country. And if you see that and your whole message, because I've seen this on a TikTok compilation too, is that Democrats need to be more like the others. Why can't we run a plant? This young lady said this word for word. Why can't we run a plant like they do? Because apparently an NC GOP has been full of shenanigans for a while. I moved to North Carolina in 2012, and it was after a big ass mess with McCrory. He decided to pull the shit that DeSantis was doing with the transgender bans. And we responded because what McCrory doesn't realize is there are a lot of black voters in North Carolina, and you were messing with our ends. The All-Star games got canceled. A lot of concerts pulled out because of your shit. So we rewarded you with walking papers. But the NC GOP started getting a bit smarter. They were like, you know, the Dems will get out there and vote. They will vote for people that not only look like them, but women and other stuff. So they started running their own plants. And they've already had two. First was that one black chick that was like, well, the Dems aren't listening to me, so I'm just going to jump ship to the Republicans. Not fooling anybody. You can always tell by sisters' bad tracks whether or not they're really down. And that homegirl, her edges don't lie. And then some other little white girl did it too. So that's two plants that the Republican Party used our resources to run because they know we're going to vote. But they also still know that some Democrats don't do their due diligence. They're not going to get out there and fully vet. They just want somebody with a D by their name that will say the shit they want to hear. And this young lady on TikTok was like, well, why can't we run a plant like that? Why can't we have a Democrat pretend to be a Republican and get in saying all the shit they want to say, thus giving sound bites for them to use against us? But nah. But she also prefaced that she was hoping that it would be a far left, and that was when I knew, like all of us have said, the horseshoe theory is real with that. Two sides of the same shitty coin. It's not about doing things the right way. It's not about hard work, whether you're sung or not. It is to them about who's in charge, who's in power, and who will give me what I want. And that's the problem with being like the other side, that a lot of people who don't understand the work of pragmatism can't grasp in their mind. What? The president should be doing everything I want when I want it. That's not how the presidency works. That's why we have checks and balances. It's not a dictatorship. Well, why can't we have it that way? If we had a president that just did what they wanted and wearing roughshod, we would have all the stuff we wanted, including free this and free that. That's not how things work. We had a president that felt unchecked for 4 years, and all he brought to us was death and a preventable pandemic. So we cannot afford to have a president that does not honor the checks and balances. If you want competency and stability, you have to realize that it is a lot of negotiation, boring pencil pushing, and shit that we're never going to be privy to see anyway, because we will never have the clearance to see it. That is the reality of government, not just for our country, but beyond, because we are allies and a part of big groups like NATO and other things. What bothers me about people that get on TikTok, especially saying we need to be like them, is this is the exact same mentality of the people who assimilate, strip themselves of all their cultural ties. They try to hide their gender identity or orientation to fit in and feel normal in a society that, if we were normal, if we were a really stable society, you could confidently be who you are without feeling like you're going to be attacked for it. Laws wouldn't be drafted against it, and you sure as heck wouldn't feel like your life is on the line just being open who you are. Just like I, being a black woman, there is nothing I can do, nothing I would want to do to change that fact. I am perfectly melanated. I am a pretty brown, and I've had to learn to accept that. But growing up where I did on Staten Island, especially, being put in schools that were supposedly good for me so that I can make connections and friendships that weren't with people that just look like me, that was hell. It was hell being one of the few that were my complexion in a classroom. It was hell feeling like I know I belong here because I'm smart enough, but I didn't feel like I belonged because it was rare to see people who looked like me in the same courses I was in. And it was a hard thing. And I learned how to code switch like most of us. I learned how to be acceptable. I was one of those acceptable black friends to a lot of people. The same people who now will write newsletters ranting about Ariel being woke. And it's just like, you were singing Fight the Power with me. You were all about Public Enemy back in them days, but now all of a sudden, Ariel's too woke for you. So it's eye opening for me, the people who just say, be like them and it'll get better. The whole point of being a Democrat for me is that we're not like them. We hold our politicians accountable. We vote whether or not we win or not, because the matter is showing the other side that we are never going to just fall in the line. We stand by our brothers and sisters who are marginalized and who have laws written against their existence, because that is what you do. You keep fighting in face of the odds. But there are way too many people who think, oh, the simple way is to just behave like them. Sir or ma'am, if I wanted somebody who acts like the Republican Party, I'd be a Republican, and I don't want that. That's why I won't vote for them. That's why I do my damnedest to make sure that even if they run stuff, which I'm about to move to a county where a lot of them are running stuff, they know my black ass is coming. Is it easy? No. But it's necessary because they cannot feel comfortable, because they never want us feeling comfortable. And what I'm not going to do is pretend to be like them so that they can continue on feeling comfortable. Nor will I support any Democrat that decides they're going to be like them. One of the points I made after the Twit King decided to get rid of the block feature, we were all like on Spoutable talking about our favorite blocks. Two of my favorite was that one crazy guy, I forget his name. I'm seeing his sister instead. It was one of the famous people. He's a Bernie guy too, so he went kind of cuckoo bananas on me for daring question the malware messiah's genuineness. Oh, why am I blanking at his name? He was in a lot of 80s movies too, and him and his sister pretty much interchangeable to me. I'll get his name later. But he was one of my favorite blocks because I don't even know, I wasn't even directly talking to him and he went off on me. And being snarky like I normally was back in the day, I was just like, ain't nobody heard of you in 20, 30 years, so you can go on. And he went off on a tangent. Oh well. And then the next block that I don't think I earned, but I would have if he had given me the chance, was Michael Avenatti. If you don't remember who Michael Avenatti is, I'll throw the name Stormy Daniels out there. If you don't know who Stormy Daniels is, you're lucky. And it's no offense to Miss Daniels. I think she's a pretty lady. No offense to her work. I support sex workers and self-sufficient bitches all over the place. But she's famous for having sex with 45, which makes me want to throw up in my mouth just even saying that. So, that aside, Michael Avenatti was her attorney. And like all high power wannabe celebrity attorneys, he was constantly in the news, constantly talking about how he's going to stick it to Trump and all that stuff. And the man was not clean himself. In fact, Stormy was the first to like distance herself from him because things didn't seem right. And then he decided to launch a political career, and like most, was all over Twitter talking about how we need a fighter in the Democratic Party. Okay, fine. We had like 20 people back then trying to run for president anyway. So if that was his platform, that was his platform. But my problem, and welcome to the chat, HV Daughterless, was how is that message going to resonate with black voters like me, especially black women voters who just want calm stability after damn near 4 years of panic and misery? And I asked him that. I don't think I was rude, which I could have been. I mean, I'm not going to act like I haven't been rude on Twitter. But I honestly wanted a clear cut answer to how his fighter rhetoric was going to appeal to voters like me. He blocked me. And then I went on a tangent after that. Because I was like, this is his response. I didn't ask him anything too pointed. I didn't call him out of his face, which I really wanted to, and I wish I had before the block. Let me earn that block, dude. Instead, I asked him a very poignant question that he would have been asked on the campaign trail if he had made it that far. And that was his response to somebody that he would have wanted a vote out of if he had even made it out of the primary, which I think he knew he wasn't going to. He was up against some really big, heavy hitters. He would not have made it. Your whole claim to fame was representing the person who admitted to sleeping with 45, and then you went down for some dirty dealings and now doing a 14-year stint in the federal jail. My vibes did not lie with that man. There was always something off about him that just did not speak right to me. And there were so many, I'm going to say it, certain demographic in my comments telling me that I just didn't see it. How dare you? He's going against Trump. You should back him just for that. Didn't you say you hated Trump? I might hate 45 with every fiber of my being. Most people who know me can pull that up without even trying. But just because I can't stand somebody doesn't mean I'm going to ignore another person's character just because they're the enemy of my enemy. That's not how we're going to do this in politics anymore. The problem with some of you is you want us to behave just like them without seeing the fallout that could happen. Let's say it's some weird ass scenario. Idiocracy times a million scenario. That man had made it past our primary and got elected as president, knowing what we know about how he did dirty, which is why he's doing 14 years in jail. What do you think he would have did for this country any differently than Trump? How many people did he owe money to or secrets to? How many promises or open door things would he have let to the wrong people? Because you just wanted somebody that was a fighter. When we need people who are legislators and politicians who will work across the board, even with people like Doofus DeSantis. You think President Biden likes sitting across from that man that always looks like a kid that just been scolded in pictures when he's next to our president? Who literally could not even look our vice president in the face because A, he doesn't have a respect for women. B, he knew he was dead ass wrong with these stupid ass policies that's running his state into the freaking ground. It is a mess, the Republican politics. That's why a little part of me is looking forward to that first debate because DeSantis is not making it out of their primary. He's already fired like a shit ton of people that were working for him. He's already hemorrhaging money in the worst way. He's been in a car accident traveling to Tennessee. Karma doesn't need to tell him any further that you're not going to make it, Ron. He's going to keep pushing until something even more embarrassing than that last interview happens and completely kills it. It probably won't be the same yeehaw moment that Homeboy had a few years back, but it's going to happen because people are sick and tired of wannabe dictators. And if they're going to support a wannabe dictator, they're going to support the inmate formerly known as 45 over the doofus who literally picked a fight with Disney. Politics is a messy game. But what's messier is the attitude that we need to be like the people that oppress us to get somewhere. When all we have to do is invest ourselves. I call it personal political investment. PPI. What is your PPI score? I grade it on a 1 to 10 basis. My PPI score stays between a 9 or a 10. There were a few years that I got a little lax, especially in local elections. I was one of those, especially when I was younger, that didn't take things like school boards and stuff seriously until I became a parent. So I will say that my overall PPI score is at least a 9. 9.8 if you go by how I've been the last few years, especially. But some of you aren't even in the double digits with your personal political investment scores because you don't take stuff seriously. You think, well, I voted in the Nationals. I understand that the president is up against checks and balances somewhat, but I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to worry about state and local legislators until your state does stupid shit and you're like, well, why can't the president do something about this? Yeah, why can't the president go against your state and local legislator that is complete opposite party and wants to try to destabilize his presidency? Gee, I wonder how that works. I want you to understand that all the political shenanigans you think outside organizing and getting people to the polls isn't going to work for us. Democrats would never give the Republican Party the sound bites of pretending to be like them. Because in this day and age where sound bites are forever, where it can be remixed on TikTok and beyond, you do not want to be that Democrat pretending to be a Republican so that they can use that against you for the rest of your life. Unless you don't have a career trajectory and you don't care where your politics go. You're just looking to run for the county school board and you don't plan to go anywhere else. So you can pretend to be a Republican for that and then jump ship and become a Democrat. There are lower level political seats where that might work. But anybody looking for an actual career in politics, trying to pretend to be right wing to get in and then switch parties, do you see the level of wackadoo-ness that the Republicans are pushing forward? You cannot operate on the level of sane. And I say this as a legal lunatic. You are not going to push that and not have it bite you in the butt. That's just the reality. You will constantly have to remind them that you're just trying to make America great again. We had a brother once again in North Carolina, which is why I am so glad I don't have to deal with NC politics anymore. I loved that state for the 4 years that I got to live there. I think it was 4. No, it's about 6 years I got to live there. Because kiddo did kindergarten and first in Georgia. So yeah, I love the life that we had there. It was peaceful. It was quiet to the most part. But the politics was fucking ass. Everything but from that meme picture of the GOP Republicans having the black Republican table with no black people around because black people aren't going around those places. The shenanigans that the NC GOP gets up to makes me glad that I'm not down there, but it makes me sad for the people that have to put up with that nonsense. Because people want to scoff and like, it's just the South. Everybody's like that down there. Roy Cooper's proof that's not the truth. And even then, not every Republican down there is a Maori Muppet Green type. You have those in-betweeners. I tell everybody who listens how Senator, oh God, I'm blanking on his name, Mr. Tax Fraud Guy. That's how I know him now. I called his office when I was having issues with getting kiddo's passport. For those of you who know, I'll do a quick recap. I was in a very bad relationship. I had a baby. I had to get out of that. Like everybody who has a child with another person, if that child's paternal parent or maternal parent is on their birth certificate, getting your child's passport is a lot, because they don't want a parent just taking their kid out of the country, thus potentially kidnapping them. So you have to get the other parent's permission. But when the other person is an abusive fuck ass who wants to hurt you and make sure that your life is miserable, and even though you try to reach out diplomatically, they won't do it, you have to go another route. And what I did was hire a private investigator, which unlocked a whole can of worms. That would be a whole nother podcast to unpack. I went to the senator's office to see what I could do to get my child his passport, because it wasn't fair. We just wanted to go on a vacation and this was jamming us up. So the senator's office said, look, doesn't matter if you voted for us. This is my job as your senator to help out with this. He got me a letter that got me past the normal DC area for passports. There's a whole diplomatic area that most people don't know about and won't ever see unless you have those connections. Beautiful area. I was shocked. We got right in, right out. It was such a clean area that he was a little one at the time, just laying on the floor there playing around. It was just crazy, the differences. But that's the power of having somebody who understands their job as a politician. And yes, it's one of those rare times where a GOP official stood up and did their job in spite of the person they were helping. But there are not enough of them out there anymore. And there are far too many still loyal to the hopefully soon to be inmate known as 45. So if we want to lessen their death grip on our political structure, if we want a society that elevates democracy and beyond, if we want people to feel safe in their own home state, instead of just telling people to move and migrate, which is not easy. And I say this as somebody who has moved state because I didn't have a choice in a lot of the matter. Losing stuff left and right because it was a quick move or something that I had to do. You cannot tell people who don't have the means to just up and move. It is a very privileged take to something you clearly don't understand. Well, if it was me, I'd just move. Where you live? I'm in California. I make about 100K or 75K a year. And I'm just like, you're talking to people whose average, if they're lucky, maybe 20K a year. And I'm being generous with that. And I'm not saying that to poor shame or poor mock at all, because I'm in the same boat as an independent writer. I'm saying that as somebody who understands that you can't just tell people to up and move to solve their political problems. And all that energy and wasted hot air that comes out of your breath to say that could be calling and phone banking or doing something that would actually positively affect their areas. Most people don't want to do the work. They just hope to elect a dictator that will be more palatable to what they want. And I'm going to tell you this again, as somebody who has actually studied history, that loves history, there is no such thing as a beneficial dictatorship. If you're loyal to it, you're loyal to it because you feel like you have no choice. You feel like you're in the group that won't be targeted the heaviest. But there is no such thing as a beneficial dictatorship, and telling people that the way to win is to behave like the other side is you telling us that you don't care if the other side is dirty and corrupt and awful. As long as they represent what that you think your values are, that's all you care about. And that is the problem with some of you voters out there. You don't care about the goal uplifting all of us. You want to hurt people. And that's the problem with the Republican Party in its current inception, probably in a lot of its inception, honestly. Because honestly speaking, as somebody who loves history, who understood the